Snakewood, Sweet, Quartz, Chaos Black. All of these and more similar hacks are considered to be ROMs with polarizing and wacky levels of quality when it comes to their Fakemon designs. So remaking them usually is more easier than actually playing them. But what if we try to up the ante and redesign a cast which is already considered to be top-notch beside the offensive parts? Well, in today's video, I'll be taking Pokemon Clover and a batch of its Fakemon designs, then attempting to give them a fresh coat of paint. Will this work out? Will I tackle or change controversial designs? All that and more in today's episode of ROM Design Remakes. But first, here's Clover's. Most likely being well known than many of its designs already, Pokemon Clover was initially created by members of 4chan's VP board, with a dev by the name of Clover Camera being the lead, which first made its debut in February 10th, 2015, and kept being updated up until 2020, being heavily based on internet culture, memes, and making a parody of multiple things like the Pokemon franchise itself. Clover presents a cast of not only 386 brand new Fakemon, but also such things like 2 regions by the names of Fochan and Ebin, new cast of characters which, despite the game's reputation, are written much better than your usual cringy or edgy self-insert. I mean, Professor Stump is already a better name than the whole group of Snakewood characters as a whole. I got to give them that. Well, he is based on Danny DeVito, so that does get some free points either way. As for the plot, you meet such characters like the ever-so-charming rival Edgy, while also coming across a criminal organization with a name that strikes fear into anyone. Of course, there is also the badge collecting aspect, but that's an excuse for witnessing all of the new Fakemon with the biggest hit or miss ratio that I've ever seen. So, to finally get on with taking a closer look at them, let's hit it off with... Like with any start of an adventure, there always is a starter involved. And for this scenario, it's one of Clover's offerings. Our dear hemorrhoid-riddled mammal here comes pre-loaded with such clever jokes like Cheek Pouch and Analytic. Former being most likely a cheeky implication of Rectreem storing berries up where the rich soil is made from, and latter, well, having the first 4 letters form a word that's relevant to the tree's origin. Having varied base stats that still total up to an expected starter stat number, Rectreem also can get up more close and personal than the back sprite already does with stories from its dex entry. If 2 Rectreem meet, they fight using their trees. Whoever loses suffers a horrible enema from the victor. If you don't know what enema is, I'm semi-sorry that you do now. But then again, you clicked on a video about a ROM that has such things as a sexy sentient pizza and historically off-putting furnace Fakemon, so what did you expect? let's not think too much about it and get on with our first redesign. To be honest, I had some trouble with what to do for the remake at first. Then, after deciding that I could embolden the core of the design, which is its buttocks, and stuff like that, being Pokemon Clover's main appeal anyways, I mega evolved the ridiculousness and not only turned the tree into a more stereotypical fart cloud, but also make the tree's roots look like a thong. Oopsie. Then to tie the sharding idea further home, I make it constantly have a stomach-grasping pose, while having it look like it has socks on, while otherwise being completely naked, due to the meme where a constipation is so insane that you take all of your clothes off from the struggle. Yeah, this video is going to be quite a bumpy ride, isn't it? Though, at least we're luckier than this Rectreem and whatever constipation it's going through, so it's not that bad. And I did remake the whole cast of relevant sprites with the shiny included. That's based on the original, just like the others will be. So it's actually quite good in the end after all. Well, it's not actually the end until we... Okay, now it's actually the end. For us. Unfortunately, that Rectreem still got a branch up his ass, so let's leave him be and move on to something worse. Like regular viewers may guess already, my usual pick for the second slot is... I'm not racist, I swear. Moving on, before I inspire any allegation activity, I decide to pick Somboludo for its teetering balance between acceptable and controversial. Since if we're doing a video about a ROM that's mostly known for these type of designs, why not actually cover a few of them? Otherwise, there's really no point in covering Clover. Back to the topic at hand, Somboludo introduces itself with Sniper, Sandstream as its regular, then Comatose or Sandveil as its possible hidden abilities. Well, there's also the case of it being a clean split between male and female, so the ladies aren't missing out on any exquisite stashes that the Evolve line has grown out. Now, all of that is nice, which matches nicely with a stat spread that totals up to be 10 points higher than the tree dumping grass starter. If that wasn't impressive enough, the entry also boasts about the marksman's skills. Notorious for its perfect accuracy, it can shoot any target from 200 miles away while sleeping. Quick and straight to the point, just like the sharpshooter itself, so let's maintain the speed and load up the chamber with words "remake" written all over it. Embracing what makes the design so cool, I turn the Lone Desert Ranger aspect of the design that's hinted by the Dex entry to 11 and go all out by turning it into less of a Mexican stereotype mix and more into something that could be in related circles to the likes of Cacturn and Crew. Now, that may be a reach for some, but hey, remember with what I'm working with here. I pass off the mustache element as a natural evolution for the line across the years that helps it with not getting sand in its eyes, while having a poncho-like coating to keep itself warm in the night when it hunts. With a few edits and animating phases that ends with a literal bang, Somboludo brings the high noon with a new look from multiple angles. Then doesn't forget the assist that makes it a full design, and shiny that's inspired by the original. But the true highlight of the game comes with a quick transition to what can I say that hasn't already been said? Well, besides it not looking the same as before, there's also the fact that Somboludo doesn't have anything stuffed in its throat. Wait, what? The third being a pick by the community like usual, though this time specifically from the Patreon votes. Our dear double-throat goat Upchucken here barely outperformed the thing that would have simplified the thumbnail creation process and made it onto this video's cast. I already can hear people revving their engines in concern of Torchic's condition, and maybe one person about Farfetch'd, but fear not. Being based on a dish called turducken, Upchucken incorporates the food's aspect of consisting of a duck and chicken being stuffed into a turkey by having Pokemon equivalents take their place, but it seems like stuffing a Torchic into a turkey is where the Clover devs draw the line, since it and Farfetch'd are just dull replicas. Phew! Had me sweating there for a bit, guys. Anyways, Upchucken also comes stuffed with Drought as its regular and Innards Out or Flare Boost as its hidden abilities. But shoving a bit deeper, we also can see quite the chunky stat spread that sums up to an impressive 559 total. But now that it's prepped, we can actually read what's on the menu. It harnesses the power of the living dolls in its mouth to generate heat. It was very powerful in ancient times. Weirdly more simplistic and normal sounding than what I expected, but I guess we got to also leave some room for the main dish. Since the two stuffed bird Pokemon turned out to be dolls after all, I decided it would be some extra goofy fun if I throw in a rubber chicken aspect, or, well, the turkey, and gave it hints of that exact thing by adjusting the properties and look of the body, while also having the wings be much smaller than the rest. Just like, say it with me, rubber chicken even though it's a turkey, yeah! Making the colors also more vibrant, while reusing as much colors as I can to not go over the restrictive 16 color limit that the Pokemon games have, so that I can also get the colors of Torchic and Farfetch'd correct. We're already ready to see the final result in action by playing with it in the actual game like before. This also includes the icon and shiny versions for the sprite, but that's just a segue to the big bad. Oh yeah, that sure was a hefty serving. But don't get too stuffed yet, because we also need to get ready for the dessert? As the fourth pick for today, Cokemmoth runs up with suspicious delight as our wildcard choice of this batch. Growing up from a Snuffant at level 32, it shows its abilities with such obviously cheeky ones like Speed Boost, Slush Rush, Overcoat, and Snow Warning, which go together with the also expected Ice type, being the third in the row to outperform Rectreem once again in the stat department with a juicy 530 total. Cokemmoth doesn't wait around with an entry that goes like this. Cokemmoth can't last 6 seconds without snorting cocaine. It will go on a rampage and overdose on its own hailstorm. Even though that seems goofy in its own right, turns out our excited fella here had an alternate dex entry in earlier versions of the game. You're welcome. Better yet, it's time to get some Candy of the Eye variant for yourselves with incoming remaking. Having the design already be so dead set on a concept, Cokemmoth took the longest for me to redesign solely for those exact reasons. After deciding to shuffle around the way the definitely snow aspect was implemented, I embraced the bulkiness that's reflected in the stats and unexpected slow speed stat, which with the help of a possible speeding up ability could bring it back. Also gets reflected in the later showcased animation. But for now, it's time we bring the new product into the light and digest the different look. If that doesn't do the trick, there's also the expected icon that's using the same colors as the original, just like the rest of the batch, which also is a similar case with the shiny and the inspiration from the original. Yet, unlike something that the original did not have, now that the rush is over, take in the view of this beauty while you still can. With the time slipping by quicker than you expected, get ready for the finisher that is the evasive. Now I know that the last one usually is a legendary, like with Mewfree or Kaosune in previous episodes, though let me present you evidence that makes this choice valid. I rest my case. Now that you see how awesome, and on top of that adorable, Ribbizap is and are on my side, no doubt, no cap, let's get this show on the road. Having the expected Lightning Rod, Dry Skin and Motor Drive, then the surprise pick of Liquid Voice as its available abilities, Ribbizap also has the passive ability of taking its lower stats than the rest with pride, since it already knows that it more than makes it up with its cuteness and coolness factor. If you aren't somehow already convinced, take a look at its adorable entry. When it finds an outlet, it'll connect to it with its tail. It croaks loudly when fully charged. Sorry, Bellybolt, But turns out there was already a cooler electric frog in town all along. Besides the obvious pointer that Ribbizap may be based on any frog from the big cast of relevant internet memes like Pepe, Kermit, or that boy, there's not much reason to not start redesigning it. Acknowledging the fact that Ribbizap is precious and there's no replacing it, I start making a relative to the family and begin with a closer depiction to a possible inspiration for the original, which in this case is Pepe and a more frog-like body, while also being accompanied with a color scheme that's more saturated and upgraded from the original. Yet, I also realized that the palette accidentally gives off more Benten alien energy than I at all intended. Just rolling with the punches, I keep it how it is and complete all the other sprite-related practices. Then finally get to showing it off in-game with, if I do say so myself, quite good end results. The icon does its job pretty good as well. Then when it comes to the shiny, the saturated color upgrade from the original also does it justice. And to make some extra sparks fly, well, it isn't legendary by the game's terms, though it sure as hell is in my heart. But with our little pal here now being remade as well, it's time to mark off this journey as complete. Let me know which is your favorite original and remade design. Big thanks to the patrons and helping with the third pick and their support overall. Don't forget to check my Twitter, and most important of all, stay tuned for more!